Let's choose typefaces for a website that offers high-end trips to Norway. They take care of accommodation, itinerary, booking of the main attractions, and offer additional services as add-ons. Their main audience are foreigners looking to visit Norway for at least a week, and they have been the most successful with booking millennials working in IT who are looking to get away from their ordinary days behind a desk and a computer. Knowing this, we can already identify a few important elements. This website needs to be responsive, it needs to have a legible typeface since there will be lots of text explaining the destination and services available. It also needs to feel premium since it's about high-end, all-inclusive, concierge type service. Our audience wants to get away from the computer and their desk jobs, so a few words that come to mind are escape, adventure, nature, back to basics, and so on. I think we will need two typefaces for this project to ensure we cover both the legibility aspect of the requirements and the more branded high-end feel. Since it's a high-end client, even though the budget exists, it's not limiting us to free options. It doesn't mean we need to ignore those free options, but they rarely communicate that premium high-end feeling since they're commonly seen on all other websites and products. There might be some numbers with summary and checkout pages, but even if we won't have the support for tabular numerals, I don't think it's going to be a massive problem. It can be a nice plus though. I would love to have a more high-end serif typeface for headings and a neutral, legible typeface for body text. I'm basing this on previous experiences, but I might try it the other way around too if I don't like the pairings I come up with. Let's look at some options. I'll look for a more branded heading font first, just because I feel it's important to really communicate the brand values through it. It doesn't mean I would always start with a heading font, but for this project it makes more sense. If it's an app or a blog, I more often than not start with a body option. I'll filter the Notion table by serif headings and paid. It trims down the options a lot while still giving me enough to go over in a couple of minutes. Abruzzo looks like something I'd see in an older movie. It only has one way though, since it will be used for headings that might not be a problem, but I'll skip it for now. Adele is a slab, so I'll skip it. I don't think a slab typeface works for this project based on the attributes I'm looking for and adjectives I have in mind. Adobe Jensen doesn't look modern enough, it looks like a typeface I'd see in an old book. Albra feels very high-end, but it would work better for a fashion website. I might even think about removing the static typefaces from my list, as a lot of static typefaces feel like they're made for fashion brands. But I'll keep it for now, as the list isn't long and I don't want to limit myself too much. Arida is interesting, but it doesn't scream Norway to me though. Blacker Pro, Forest, Joanna, Larkin, Titi Genevers, and Titi Ramilas are my favorites so far. Let's analyze them for a bit more. Blacker Pro seems to be a heavier version of the static fashion-like fonts. Some of the lighter weights might even work better. It feels high-end and it feels like it could work. It's less about nature and adventure though. But we don't have to hit all the adjectives to be satisfied with our choice. Forest is a lot friendlier. It has a more neutral, less constructed feel. It's still a serif, so there is still that high-end association. However, it feels a lot less high-end than Blacker Pro. Some of the lighter weights feel a lot more high-end though, and a lot less playful. I already used Joanna on a different project and I loved working with it. It's a great typeface, especially for accents. It's similar to Blacker Pro, but it feels less aggressive. Larkin looks really good too. I especially love the examples where italics get mixed in with the normal style. On further inspection, I feel like TT Genevers won't work. It feels too corporate and I'd love it if the typefaces we pick can be associated with offices and work. TT Ramilas on the other hand looks very elegant. It definitely fits a couple of adjectives we've been looking for. Out of these 6 typefaces, the only typeface I don't have is Forest. I'll inspect the specimen for it if I can find it, and all the other ones I'll test with the style board from the typography kickstart file. This is a very subjective part, and this is where you might like particular feature of that typeface more than another designer. Blacker feels very high-end. I love the serifs. Some characters like F are very interesting. It really gives the typeface a certain punch. However, when I think back to the brand attributes, I'm not sold that it's the right pick. I really love Joanna. The regular and lightweights just feel right for this type of project. Larkin might be my favorite out of the 3 so far. It has interesting curves and shapes, and it feels more natural and less geometric. It crosses both of the more natural feel and the high-end feel we're going for. TT Genoverse I don't think I'm even going to dive into. It's not what I'm looking for. TT Romilas on the other hand has these interesting curves too. I love the uppercase R. The little opening in the uppercase P is a nice detail too. I'll Google the Forest typeface a bit more. I just think it might be too playful even though I like it a lot. I'll narrow it down to Larkin and TT Romilas for now. Let's find a typeface for our body copy, knowing that our accent or heading typeface will most likely be one of these 2. The filters I'll use are sans serif, paragraphs, 6 and more weights, and italics and paid. Oh, it listed more than 80 typefaces. That's a bit much. Let's see what else we can use. TT Romilas and Larkin are both transitional typefaces. Let's see transitional sans serif typefaces that fit into our search criteria. 15 is more manageable. That's a good starting point now. Grotesque typefaces are not known for their legibility, but I doubt that we'll really use small font sizes on a project like this. Loda Grotesque looks really interesting. I would love to see some dynamic options too, just to add a bit more of that natural feel. Kappa, New Fright, and Rawson are interesting to me. Finally, let's add the geometric option to the mix. We often think they're more clean, and since we're using a heavily branded typefaces for heading, a more geometric constructed one could work well. Canyon, Halcyon, and Ephra look interesting. Let's see which ones I have and for which ones I'll need to check the specimens for. Wow, I have all of them. What a lucky pick. For all of these, I'll focus more on the paragraph sections of the style board. Loda Grotesque looks good. There's not a lot of personality, which is exactly what we're looking for. However, I'm not a fan of the uppercase R. Luckily, there's a stylistic alternate that doesn't have a curve on the R. Awesome. Kappa definitely doesn't look like the look and feel we're going for. It's very condensed. New Fright is not my favorite either. Lowercase w and t just don't work for me when it comes to what I envision for this project. Rawson is interesting. I still prefer Loda, but I like how wide its characters feel. I just don't know if it will work next to our heading choices. I love how light Canyon feels. It connects to the high-end no-stress feeling I'm looking for without going overboard. It's my new favorite. Halcyon has a very similar feel, however, character spacing is a tad bit off for my personal liking. I might adjust it if I decide to use it. Finally, we have Ephra. Honestly, I like it. Lowercase g is not my favorite, but it's not a deal breaker. Based on this, I think I'd like to test Loda Grotesque, Canyon, and Ephra against the heading options we selected. Interesting. Canyon isn't my favorite, doesn't work well with a heading typefaces at all. It feels too wide and geometric. Larkin and Ephra combination is my personal favorite. Let's analyze their skeletons to see how well they match. Lowercase g is the only noticeable standout. I think this is an awesome pairing. And that brings me to my final point of the video. Only now, in context, seeing them next to each other, was I able to select the best pairing. There is enough contrast while they still share enough similarities to work well together. Both legibility and personality traits are covered. There's not a lot I can fault these two options for. especially when I see them paired. One other thing I might do quickly is just mock a common layout, like a checkout summary or adventure details page, but overall I'm feeling happy and confident in my selection. I would spend some more time exploring a few alternative directions if this were a real project for a client, but this video demoed everything I think about when choosing, analyzing, and pairing typefaces.